Good evening, Razorback fans. We want to welcome you to this week's Weekly's Women's Sports Report, presented to you by Fordham Lee Distillery and Hot Works in Springdale, Arkansas. And we are proud to present to you tonight Coach Lance Harter of the Arkansas Women's Track and Field Program, fresh off their 7th national championship underneath Coach Harter. Coach, again, it's an honor to be joined by you tonight, and appreciate your time.
No, I love it. I'm looking forward to some good questions.
Yeah, again, fresh off your national championship, that would be 749 total for the program. You get to join in with the men and sweep the indoor national championship. So just talk about the meet, talk about, with your, announcement of your retirement and how fitting it was and how sweet it was to win, on your going out.
Well, one thing I didn't ever discuss with this team, the idea, hey, win one for me or whatever. That was never a point of the conversation. The whole puzzle, each and every team is a different puzzle, and we're trying to fit all those pieces together so that they can, the summation of those forces coming together, hopefully is a winning result. And this year's team is a very special group, very, very talented. It's a situation where, if they hit on all cylinders, we got a chance to win. We were not supposed to win. The University of Texas was picked to win. University of Florida, who we handled during the SEC meet, was picked for second, and then we were, favored to be in third. I think our kids just didn't believe the prognosticators. I think they were looking forward to the challenge at hand, and I got a lot of momentum, positive momentum at the SEC meet when we ended up winning by almost 40 points. That was something that, again, was totally unpredicted. And I think that curiosity of, hey, can we take this momentum to the national meet? Because obviously it's much more of a select group. They talk about the idea that cream rises. Well, at the national meet, it rises to a very thin layer. It's only 16 people per event. And Friday is usually a day of elimination where you get down to the final. And Saturday, you have to take advantage of those opportunities. So my coaching staff, Brian Compton, takes care of the field events and the pole vault, and Chris Johnson is the expert in the sprints and ballistic events. We all three felt real good about our respective areas. I handled the distances. So we're going in with a lot of momentum, and the only thing that was a little bit of a wild card for the distance side of it is Albuquerque's at altitude. And if you don't train at altitude, you're at a distinct disadvantage to those that do. So we knew Lauren Gregory and our distance relay would be at a disadvantage, and we'd have to run real smart. And we elaborated on that through the course of the indoor season. So once we arrived in Albuquerque, we were really ready to rock and roll and see what we could do. Friday ended up being a great day. Our pole vaulter, Amanda Fassold, won the vault, had kind of a rough start, but Brian Compton he's probably the vault guru in the United States. He's had so many Olympians and and record holders. He was able to calm her down and make good choices because there's so many intricacies to the pole vault besides just being a great athlete. And Amanda came down and took care of business and got us on the board with 10. And then the distance medley relay, we had 2 freshmen on the relay, so that always is a little bit unnerving to the coaching staff. But they listened well and they followed the game plan. And then Lauren Gregory took it from 6th to 2nd. And so we finished the day with 18 points as far as the team total goes. But more importantly, we had 3 400-meter runners make the final. Our hurdler made the final. And then Lauren Gregory made the final in the mile. So we had more bullets in the chamber to take care of the challenge on Saturday. Texas had a great day as well, and as well as Florida. So, you know, all the prognosticators are going, well, things are right true to form. So we started out on Saturday with a couple of wins, the 400 with Little Britain Wilson, but not only a win, she also right now is in consideration for breaking the world record. And there's a young lady in Netherlands that ran a 10th or 2 faster, but there's some deliberation about if that track is certified and so on. Whereas the New Mexico track, we knew was going to be certified. So we've gone through all the formalities to apply for her world record status, and we'll get to know about that here down the road. So she gets the win. More importantly, Rosie Efyong and Amber Anning also scored. So we had a triple score in the 400. We followed that up with Lauren Gregory in the mile. She ends up getting 2nd with nipped at the tape to almost win that event. Then, you know, the momentum just keeps building. Our hurdler, who is an incredible athlete, Akira Nugent, she not only breaks her national record for Jamaica, but also sets the collegiate record, and she gets a win. So now we're looking, you know, pretty good, and we're going to try to keep it as close as possible to take it into the 4x4 relay. And we know that we're going to be pretty potent with the firepower that we have in the 400. So the TV, you know, made a big deal about is 54 to 52 going into the last event. We were pretty confident that barring any type of catastrophe, our relay was going to take care of business. Did they not only take care of business and grab the win well over Texas by almost 5 seconds, but they also broke the world record in the 4x4 relay, which was held by the country of Russia in 2006. So we had a phenomenal meet. We celebrated the team victory and set up the finale for our men's team to dominate 2 hours later. So this year, and it's ever since COVID, they have the women in a 2-hour window. They take a 2-hour break, and then they have the men in a 2-hour window. So if you don't like women's track and field, you come a little bit later. If you like both, you stay for the duration. And so as I told Coach Bucknam, you know, hey, we took care of the setting. Now you just got to cash in the finale. And they absolutely crushed everybody in the men's competition.
And, you know, you're talking about the final, the 4x400, you know, and we're watching the scores on Twitter, and you see Texas there at 3rd, and then they creep up. And so, again, coming down to the last event, down to the wire, you knew what you had in the 4x4 relay. How sweet was that? Of course, being Arkansas, we got to throw in the SWC days and the fact that you get to stave off Texas in the last event to win that to clinch your national championship.
Well, it always feels good to win, period. but it sweetens it up very much so when you're dominating the burnt orange of Austin, Texas. And that was, I mean, they have a phenomenal program. And, you know, in the future, when we add Texas and Oklahoma into the SEC, I'm not sure if we need a national championship anymore, because you can just go to the SEC meet and see the best of the best. Because, you know, the SEC in track and field, men and women, is so dominant. It is respected throughout the world. If I wear an SEC logo in China, uh, they go, "Oh, SEC." You know, they don't think of it as the uh, thing that oversees the stock exchange.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, athletics, you know, track and field, football, basketball, all the sports. The SEC is literally world renowned.
In talking about, these freshmen, when you have freshmen come on your campus, you've been here, you talked before we recorded, you were here the day before Arkansas joined the SEC. Excuse me. And you're talking about getting these freshmen on campus, and you just got to add the 49 on the flag. Just how intimidating is that, do you think, to some of these freshmen who come from, yes, all over the world, but they see something that nobody else in the country can say when it comes to their track and field program? That's not 49 wins from last year. That's national championships now.
It's a situation where I think literally, you know, I've been in China, I've been in Europe at various uh, competitions with our pro athletes or on the Olympic staff or World Championship staffs. Um, if I'm running down the road with a Razorback jersey on, or not a jersey, just a logo, it's amazing who will in a French accent or a Spanish accent go, "Oh, woo pig suey." It's amazing the visibility that Arkansas has, world renowned in especially in track and field. So um, you know, when you win 49 national championships, we can make a phone call anywhere in the world to a recruit, and it's instant credibility. They know about Arkansas. They know about the Tyson Track Center as, you know, the fastest track in the world. Um, their outdoor facility is almost second to none. It's just a very special place. It also has been recognized as a lot of professional track athletes come here to live. The world record holder in the shot put bought a home in Northwest Arkansas because it's such a great place to live at and be able to get, you know, access to travel across the world. So it's really a very very special place. And you know, coming from California, everybody thought if I retire, oh yeah, you're going to move back to California. Not a chance. Um, I'm staying in Northwest Arkansas, and this is home. Yeah, when I got indoctrinated that we were going to go to the SEC, I thought, boy, this is intimidation at the very top. Uh, we're going to have to really work our butt off to be ready to handle the caliber of talent that the rest of the SEC draws, and it has not changed. It just continues to escalate upwards. So when we call a freshman and say, "Hey, would you be interested in handling the challenge that Arkansas faces each and every week?" Um, it takes a pretty mature and a pretty confident individual to say, "Hey, you know, I'd love to have that opportunity and come here." And when you say, "Hey, we've won 49 SEC championship or NCAA championships," and I think it's 162 SEC championships. Um, that's that's pretty unique. I mean, nobody else is flying a flag with 49. I guarantee you that.
And that's what I was talking about. You come here, 91 was your first year, and you won a conference championship in cross country that year. But I want to go back to like Oregon, of course, Nike and Prefontaine, one of the famous runners. When did you realize as a program at Arkansas that you've really overtaken that nostalgia, because they really tried to make Oregon that top premier location, really push Nike and Prefontaine
Yep.
and Phil Knight there in Oregon. What was the moment when you're like, all right, now we are the kings of track and field when it comes to all three aspects?
Well, I think Coach McDonald kind of established that way back. In fact, when they made a coaching change years and years ago, Coach Mack and I used to run together every lunchtime. And he said, Mr. Knight called and asked if I would be interested in the Oregon job. And John was not only a great coach as far as track and field and cross country goes, he was also a great ranch man. He was a very successful rancher and had a big cattle ranch and so on and so forth. And he said, well, I appreciate the thought and so on, but I have my ranch and, I just can't leave it. And as the story goes, Phil Knight said, I'll buy you a ranch here in Oregon.
Goodness
So,
gracious.
I don't think that ever tempted John anymore to ever leave Arkansas, but it was really cool that he's just so special and established that tradition. And when I came, that was one of the questions I asked is, hey, you're doing it in the men's side. Is it possible to do that in the women's side? And he said, oh, by all means. And he helped with every opportunity he could to make that happen.
And talk about just the difficulty. We're talking about the programs. You got three different aspects. You have indoor, outdoor, and cross country, and you have all the 43 conference championships, but your first national championship coming 15 or 16. I don't have 15. Just how hard is it to get to that jump between an SEC championship and an NCAA, which would be in your indoor championship in 15?
Well, when you look at the idea of there's over 300 programs out there, all of them are trying to be successful, to say the least. So what happens is they start focusing or micro focusing on, hey, we can't be good in cross, so let's take all our resources and put it in indoor track or put it into outdoor track. And one of the things that we've done at Arkansas, in spite of the odds, is try to win national titles in all three. And so when we recruit, we have to be very careful and very cautious about who we recruit because we don't have much room for error. So if you only need 5 really good distance runners to win cross country and you put 18 scholarships into that, you can make a lot of mistakes and still have 5 really good ones. We can't do that. We can maybe put 5 and hope that each one of those 5 hits right on target. And then you have, illness and injury and all these other factors that might take it away. So, we have 18 scholarships on the women's side. There's only 12.7 on the men's side. Yet there's 21 events outdoors. There's 17 indoors, and you got to have at least 5 good ones for cross country. So it's a real matrix about how to spend your money and be competitive in all three. Only maybe 5 or 6 programs in the U.S. try to be serious with cross indoor and outdoor. The rest of them have either focused on cross country specifically or indoor track or outdoor track.
And in 2019, you were able to get that triple crown. Just how, I guess, exhilarating was that when you win all three? I mean, talking about how difficult it is to win one, but then you win all three in the same year. I know that had to be pretty exciting coming from even a track program like Arkansas.
That was unbelievable. And the makeup of those 3 teams, and obviously there was some overlap, were truly special individuals that weren't going to be denied. I mean, we won cross. That was a big upset. We were probably the 5th or 6th best team personnel wise out there, but those kids were not going to let each other down, and they were able to win it. And then that momentum carried into indoor, and we won that fairly comfortable. Then, people start getting tired, 3 competitive seasons back to back to back. can really be draining. And that was at the University of Texas, again, back in Longhorn country. Um, so, you know, we had individuals that spoke each day at our team meetings about how special it was and so on. And again, the theme was, I'm going to take care of my part of this equation. You need to take care of yours. And so they made each other very accountable. And when we had a letdown, something went wrong for one reason or another, somebody else said, hey, I'll step up and cover that. And we ended up winning all three. And I'm not sure if anybody's going to be able to do that ever again.
And speaking of, we're talking about indoor, outdoor, cross country. So you win the indoor national championship on the 11th. And just from the mental aspect, usually basketball, football, baseball, all the other sports. All right, we're done with the season. We'll see you in about 4 or 5 months. No, March 30th. Now we got the Texas Relays coming out, and we start our outdoor season. So,
Yep.
what is between those days and then leading up to the SEC championships and the outdoor national championships? What's been the biggest challenge to get the kids refocused and at an elite level to where, all right, we got to go right back and do this again in outdoors?
Again, there's positive momentum for us, no doubt about it. But also, there's some physiological and psychological parameters that each and every individual functions differently. And so, it's a real challenge to sit down with each and every individual that is a key point to carry over to the outdoor season of, okay, do you need some break? Do you need a few days off? Do you need, let's get right back in and carry the momentum? It's a situation where a lot of individuality and a lot of very careful care and concern about how each one is prepared to handle the next challenge, because it becomes a real long year. And then some of these individuals, their season's not going to end at the outdoor NCAA. They're going to go on and compete internationally. And, Britton Wilson last year anchored, or not anchored, but was on the 4x4 relay for the U.S. team at the World Championships and won the gold medal. She didn't finish track until August, and school starts a couple of weeks later. So Chris Johnson, who just does a fabulous job with those sprint and hurdle crew and relays, he sits down with her and how much break do you need? And they come to a common, date about, okay, now we'll get started again. A couple of our distance runners, freshmen, were at the World Junior Championships in Cali, Colombia, and they didn't get done until the end of July. And we're running cross country 3 weeks later. So it's a real matrix of decisions, and a lot of it depends on communication, where coach and athlete sit down, face to face, one on one. Okay, this is what's going to be best for you, and come to a conclusion. At Arkansas, it's much more of a democratic track program than it is autocratic. So I really depend on communication from the athletes themselves. And I think that rapport really wins out, especially when it gets down to nitty gritty time, like this last week at the Nationals in New Mexico. Some of those kids had to make real hard decisions about what's going to be best, not only for themselves, but also that they're part of a team. And, if they're not wholeheartely 100% committed, the team factor is going to struggle. But we've been able to, time and again, be able to take care of that. And they take great pride in every one of the SEC titles that we won, as well as the NCAA championships.
And been here since 91. I mean, just talk about with your new Tyson Center, which I look forward to being able to, come and tour it and look at it. But from an aspect of nutrition, I talked to Coach Harper and the swim and just the nutrition that goes into a swimmer. I'm sure the same kind of nutrition goes into the track. And
No doubt about it.
what big growth have you seen with what you're able to achieve in that aspect, in the fitness, in the nutrition, since you've started here at Arkansas?
Well, prior to coming to Arkansas, and then while I was here as well, I was a guest lecturer at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs originally, but then also in San Diego every summer. And one of the things that I modeled after was our medical care, our nutrition, et cetera, that you get at the Olympic training centers for the United States, the most elite athletes that are out there. We have that same structure here at University of Arkansas, and it's in all facets: medical care, nutrition, psychological support. Obviously the academic side is an integral part of that whole thing. But as far as facilities and support, we have everything that our Olympic athletes are at the various training centers.
And we'll end it on this. Just, heading into your last season, you're going into your outdoor season. And I mean, 7 with the chance of getting 8 national championships, 637 All-Americans, your 43 conference titles, your Triple Crown, Coach of the Years. I mean, so when you leave here at Arkansas, there's not much you can kind of add to your legacy to when it comes to your coaching career. But what do you think would be the biggest thing that you have, and this could be personal or coaching, that you've accomplished here at Arkansas?
I think one of the things that Bev Lewis, when she hired me, said, I just want you to take the program to the next level. And I've been very blessed that Hunter Yurchek has allowed me to help recommend how we should take the program without me as the head coach. And Chris Johnson is, I'll pass the baton to him literally and say, hey, just take it up another notch. And hopefully that'll all come true. And I'm going to help any way I possibly can. I'm not moving anywhere. I have good health. I plan to do a little more travel during the quote unquote off season. But the idea is, I've made my mark and I want to hope that it continues, and I'm going to support it any way I possibly can.
And talking about Mark, I mean, your mark on the track is forever because they named the track after you. So again, with just the prestige of Arkansas, Nolan Richardson Court, Frank Broyles, I mean, all these names that are attached to certain, what does it mean to you that, your name, you're talking about Bev Lewis hiring you and wanting to get to the next level. What does it mean to you that your stamp will be forever a part of Arkansas athletics?
That was absolutely stunning that they did that. Somebody talked about the idea that Coach Mack's statue is right outside our outdoor track, and it's 6'2" tall. If you equate that to 42 national championships, then my 6, now 7, would be comparable to a bowling trophy beside him. So the idea that they were creative and thought, and Mr. Tyson and his family approved the idea that my name would be etched into the track itself. And it's not paint. It is actually white Mondo cut into the actual running surface. And it's kind of a standing joke that, it's so nice for them to put my signature on there and dedicate the track to me. But now every Sunday I got to take a toothbrush and clean the white off because, people are walking all over it.
Yeah, you got to keep that thing clean.
Exactly.
Well, Coach, it has been an absolute pleasure. We could talk forever about the program and just all the accomplishments. And again, I really want to thank you for your time on coming on the show tonight. And again, best of luck with your outdoor season, and hopefully you get number 8 before you head out.
Well, we're going to certainly give it a try, and I know our kids are excited about it. And Hey, this was fun. I'll do this anytime.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Hey,
It's
no
an
problem.
honor. Take
Anytime.
care.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was Coach Lance Harter of the women's track and field program. And again, I mean, what can you say? 7 national championships, could be 8 at the end in June. 43 conference championships, 637 All-Americans, 458 of those were first team All-Americans. I know we throw around the GOAT term a lot when it comes to greatest coaches. Between him and Coach Mack, I tell you what, Coach Johnson has a when he hands that baton to him, I mean, that's going to be some shoes to fill. But you just look at that 49, and it's crazy that people question the whole thing. What's been 10 years since the men's won a national championship, but that goes to show you're not taking a team to the national championship like your football team. You're taking your SEC team and hoping you have enough to qualify for the national, the national meet, and then you take those collectively and try to get enough points to win. So it's not a regular sport when it comes to basketball or baseball where you win a series, but you have the same group, the same team. It just shows you how hard it is to win. In 19, win the Triple Crown. He said it would never been, but I really loved the fact that he was talking about John McDonnell, and Phil Knight offered to buy him a ranch to get him to come to Oregon. And this is the head of Nike. Oregon was that top-notch school. Nike, Prefontaine, the track, they tried to make their facilities the best possible facilities in all sports. So for him to want to get McDonald to come there, that just shows you how much he meant to the track and on a world stage. So it was an honor to have Coach Harter on. Again, presented to you by Fordham Lee Distillery and Hot Works in Springdale, Arkansas, as well as if you're in the River Valley, they have locations in Fort Smith. So if you're into, wanting to get that extra workout for the ladies and you want to go do a little rowing or biking in the sauna, I know it doesn't sound that appealing, but I've been on there a couple of times, and it's really good. I mean, it really gets you a good burn. You get to sweat. I know that's not the last thing. That's the last thing you want to do when the summertime. But again, want to give a huge shout out to Hot Works, and again also for Fordham Lee Distillery having their bourbons and their cream liqueurs all over Northwest Arkansas. You can get it at Buster's, Liquor World, Walk-Ons, and they're going to be coming in more locations all over Northwest Arkansas and eventually all across Arkansas. You'll be able to get one of the best bourbons that I've ever had. I mean, and this is not just saying it because they're, an advertiser or sponsor, but I would put Fordham Lee bourbon against, Knob Creek or any of the bullets that come along. It's a very, very good. I'm more of a mixer type of person, but that's one bourbon that I can sip straight up. So been a very, very good episode. Again, Lance Harter, congratulations on all your success, track. And again, if you've seen the tweet with all the All-Americans, I told him before the show that I wouldn't ask him to name all 637 All-Americans he's coached. And he said that might be a little tough. But again, we will catch you. We're going to try to do, starting with next week, we're going to start doing a baseball series talking about the upcoming SEC series. We're going to try to do that on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, depending on how everything goes. But that will be presented to you by the law offices of Beasley, Shipley, Robertson, and Robertson in the Ozark, Arkansas, Fort Smith, and Springdale. So be looking forward to that. And also to our sponsor, Hillbilly Realty in Ozark, Arkansas. If you're looking for just to sell some land, any kind of property, check with Hillbilly Realty in downtown Ozark, Arkansas. They will get you hooked up with all that. But for Porter Hayes, this has been another episode of the Hog Talk Podcast, weekly women's sports report, presented to you by Bet Online and Fordham Lee Distillery, powered by Hot Works.